Welcome to Feed Your Soul with Serena, a space to reconnect with yourself through mindset, movement, and honest conversation. If you've been feeling disconnected from yourself lately, or you're starting a new chapter, then you're in the right place. I'm Serena, and each month we'll explore what it means to come home to yourself, one conversation at a time. Let's do this. Welcome back to the Feed Your Soul conversation. Today we're going to be talking about finding flow. And what is finding flow? Have you ever been in an ocean, laid on your back, and let yourself float to wherever the water takes you? How does that make you feel? Flow doesn't necessarily feel easy, it just feels right. And I just want you to take a moment right now to reflect on maybe a time in your life where you experienced flow. It could be traveling in a different country and going with the flow and maybe finding the best restaurant that you stumbled upon on your whole trip. I know that did happen to me one time in Portugal, but again, that's just like going with the flow and seeing where the road will take you. I love searching for the unknown, where some people just like to have things planned all the time. But sometimes when you can let go of that control and just feel the flow to where it's going to take you, you could experience maybe one of the best restaurants or one of the best moments that you didn't even know you were going to experience. And I think that's the beauty of life. It's finding the unknown and saying, oh my gosh, what is this? And look at this. And I think to find flow, you need to be a little bit curious as to what I'm going to find, or curious who's going to walk through those doors, or curious to meet somebody new. And if you take a look back at your life right now, reflect on moments like that. One example I'm going to give you about finding flow is opening Soul Studio. And prior to Soul Studio, I was working at my family furniture business and really had no intention of opening up my own fitness studio. And all of a sudden, things just started to happen. A friend posed a question. We started looking for places. I found a place. I signed a lease. And then all of a sudden, I found people to help me create my vision. Like everything was just in flow and it felt right. So I didn't know where, the Soul Studio chapter of my life was going to take me. I just literally dove in and trusted because everything did feel right. And throughout Soul Studio, I maintained some type of a flow. Even when I opened my ride studio, the way I got the bikes, like everything was just flowing for me. So I felt like, okay, here we go. I'm just going to ride the wave and keep going. So that is my definition of flow. I mean, it could be different for you as well. And like I said, flow can come in anything. It could be a job that maybe you wanted and then you put it on the back burner. Then all of a sudden things started coming into play and you're like, oh my gosh, I thought of this 5 years ago, and all of a sudden it's coming back to me. So when things like that happen, you need to learn to trust your instincts and trust yourself because you actually maybe planted that seed and it wasn't the right timing back then, but all of a sudden things are just happening for you and it's like, it feels easy. I mean, that to me is like one of the best feelings ever. It took me a long time to get back into flow. Like I said, I closed my studio in 2022. I think it's taken me up until now, which is 4 years, to really start to feel like I'm in flow again. Maybe there's something in your life right now where you feel like you're controlling as opposed to like just letting it flow. Is it taking more of your energy than it's supposed to? Like, how do you feel when you're in a situation that you feel like you're controlling? Like you can feel it in your body, and I feel like sometimes we disregard what our body is trying to tell us because we think that we should be doing what we're doing. So, and this sparks this whole conversation about, coming home to yourself, finding flow, becoming in tune with yourself. So really and truly, as I mentioned in the episode of coming home to yourself, it's just coming back to tuning into yourself and just understanding like what it is that you feel like in certain situations. So how do you come back to flow? How do you seek finding flow in your life again after something has happened and you feel completely lost and things are just not feeling easy? I think a few things helped me in the last couple of years to come back to where I am at this moment. And although my life felt like it was just a blur and I needed to just completely like clear the path, I made myself do one thing a day that I knew that the action would be taking me in the right direction. For example, I would go on my 10-minute walk or 15-minute or 20-minute, depending how I felt that day. And I just kept telling myself, keep going, Serena. Every day you walk is going to make you feel better, whether it's your mental clarity, your physical clarity. So walking for me really helped me come back into finding flow. And I walked a lot in 4 years, but it was literally just a time for me to be by myself and to really just either be in nature or listen to a podcast that, would inspire me, or simply just listening to music that made me happy. And sometimes just listening to nothing at all and just being present and being with myself. I felt like that was something that really helped me reconnect myself. And I think in a way that I was able to clear things from my head and realize, what was creating stress in my life, or what is it that I wanted out of life, or what is it that I didn't want out of life. And sometimes we always chase the answer of, what is it that I want out of life? I think it flipped for me. I was like, what is it that I don't want in my life? I don't want to feel stressed out. I don't want to feel pressured. So rather than say, what is it that you want out of your life? Maybe pose a question, say, what is it that you don't want? And then when you pose that question, I think tomorrow or the next day, when you're doing something and it gives you a feeling, just reflect back and be like, is this something that I don't want in my life? And then you just have to make that change, either it's like maybe you're doing an activity that you just think that you should be doing, like let's say, for example, playing rec soccer and your body is killing you and you feel like you need to be playing rec soccer, but all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to run for 2 hours, like maybe it's time that you found something different to do, change things up a little bit. And I'm going to go back to my story as to where we're in Portugal and we were driving from city to city, and rather than planning on where we were going to eat, we randomly stopped at this amazing little restaurant that was home cooked Portuguese food. And it was literally like the highlight of our trip. So like when you can just like go with the flow and feel that, sometimes we feel like we can only do that like when we're on vacation. But what happens if you actually took that flow into your real life? Things happen, and very exciting things can happen for you. So be excited for the unknown rather than the mindset of, I'm afraid of what's going to happen. What if it's something I can't handle? To me, I feel like it's like, okay, bring it on. Like, I can do this. And there's a lot of things that I dabbled in and that I tried and it wasn't for me, but I was able to make the decision to be like, you know what? I tried it and this is not for me. So you literally have to like tune into yourself. You're going to literally know like what's good for you and what's not good for you. I want you to relate it to a feeling that you have. So, again, going back to feelings, think about a job that you had that you absolutely loved, or maybe you have a job right now that you absolutely love. That is a feeling. Now take yourself to a job maybe that you didn't love. How did that make you feel, right? So like, I need you to go back to being in tune with your feelings so then you can take control of your life and do the things that actually make you feel happy and not making everybody else feel happy. So finding flow is such a beautiful thing. And I think rather than get frustrated, go back to taking those little steps that are going to help you get back into flow. Walking, clearing your mind, slower movement, really understanding what is pulling your energy in a bad way as opposed to what is giving you good energy in a good way. And so lean towards things in your life that make you feel lit up, because that's where inspiration comes from. And then when you're inspired and you're in flow, you literally, like, if your door is open, you are like, hello, bring it to me, give it to me. What do you got? Let's go. And I'm hoping in this conversation today that your takeaway will be just reflecting in your own life as to what you feel like you're controlling as opposed to letting it naturally happen. And the other thing is finding feelings that align with what you're doing. So how does it make you feel? So before we close, I'll leave you with this. Where in your life do you feel most like yourself? And what would happen if you gave that part of yourself a little more space this week? Thank you for being here. And until next time, tune in and continue feeding your soul.